children to grow up in a free country? Do you want to live in a free country? Do you love your rights? Do you love your freedoms? Let's let this government know loud and clear. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. All right, everybody, I'd like to thank you guys again for coming out. You guys were amazing. Let's invite Melanie up right now to sing Old Canada. Come on up, Melanie.
So beautiful to see all these unmasked faces. I absolutely love it. Please join me in the singing of our beautiful national anthem. Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Awesome personality. Once again, will you accept being locked down again?
No!
Do you want this government to lock us down again? No! Do you want your family to be locked down?
No!
Do you want this country to be open?
Yes!
Do you want our economy to function?
Yes!
Do you want your rights?
Yes!
Do you want your freedom?
Yes!
Well, you've done the first step. You guys have all come out, stand up, and you're being leaders in the community, and I thank you guys all so very much. Billions worldwide are standing up. Thousands in Canada are standing up. Soon will be billions globally because we understand corruption. We understand abuse of power. We will not accept it. Do you accept the new normal?
No!
Will you ever accept the new normal?
Never!
Do you want your kids to wear face masks all day in school?
No!
Neither will I. No new normal!
No new normal! No new normal! No new normal!
We have lots of awesome speakers today, so I'll get Josh to invite James Kitchen.
Okay, just a quick announcement here. We do have a few speakers that have already informed us they want to speak. If you want to speak, we will give you a turn as well. Please don't touch the microphone stand. I will adjust it for you. Jason, our camera guy, has kind of an expensive mic on here, so if you could just leave the adjusting of the stand to us, that would be appreciated. Okay. Hello, Freedom Fighters! We had an amazing day yesterday.
Yeah!
We presented to Edmonton City Council our reasons for not extending the mandatory face covering bylaw.
Yeah!
Over 100 people signed up to speak. They have had to announce a second day of hearings. This hearing will be on November 19th starting at 1:30 p.m. We need 100 more people to sign up and speak. So many from all sides of the resistance came together to fight this, and we spanked the city of Edmonton. The damage this bylaw is causing is now on the record. They can no longer plead ignorance. They have been told. We heard from disabled people. We heard from respirator expert Chris Hodgkinson. We heard from a victim of rape who cannot tolerate face coverings not only on her person, but also being forced to be surrounded by masked men. These stories are important. These people are important. We have rights. If we continue to work together in fighting for the rights that are promised to us, we will be victorious. We must stay on track. We must unite behind the common cause of ending these restrictions and ending the fear-mongering. We all have different backgrounds and reasons for doing what we do. But if we can present a unified message, we can win this. We refuse to live in fear. We reject the new normal. We know our rights and are willing to fight for them.
Yes, we know.
You cannot stop this movement, Jason Kenney.
No way.
You cannot ban Christmas, Dr. Hinshaw. You can't control us.
No way.
We will not comply.
No.
We will never obey.
We will never obey.
This tyranny and these tyrants will fall like all the tyrants before them. The people will prevail. Give yourselves a round of applause. Now, without any further ado, let's welcome Mr. James Kitchen to the platform.
Hello.
James is a lawyer with the JCCF, the Justice Center for Constitutional Freedom. Big round of applause.
We welcome you, mister.
Yes, we do, and I thank you.
I don't know how I'm going to follow that up. That was amazing.
You already had him beat one of my tickets, so it's all good. Thank you. The first one that was arrested here back in April.
You just wait, solicitor-client privilege. You're telling the world. Listen, you're all exercising your freedom of assembly. And that, well, I'm a constitutional lawyer, so weird things excite me. That excites me. See you doing that.
Oh, yes.
And I'm encouraged at the fact that, although there's problems with our system, obviously I don't need to tell you people that, but you're still able to do that, right? There's no tear gas here. There's no military, right? So, as bad as things are, I'm thankful and encouraged by the fact you're able to do this. And you're only doing this with, you know, the fear of maybe getting a little cold. Well, that's good, okay? That means there's still something left to salvage here, and there's still some good things about our system. You know, as a lawyer, I work within a very rigid system, right? And I might not like things about it, but there are good things about it. And I work within it to change it and make it better and to improve things that the system impacts, right? And so for those of you who still haven't maybe totally rejected the system, I want to give you some encouragement to engage it even more. You're engaging it by being here today. That's great. This is part of democracy in action, right? And the biggest reason why freedom of assembly is protected as its own separate protection is because it is one of the foundational pillars of democracy, right? Along with freedom of expression, freedom of religion, freedom of association. These are identified in our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms as fundamental freedoms for a reason, right? But before I forget, you probably don't know this, and I encourage you to do this because it's more than just nerdy. You can actually get a real fancy-looking copy of the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms for free. My wife discovered this. We got them for my kids. My kids are homeschooled, so I actually have a copy. You can get it for free. So I would like all of you to go home and inundate the office that does this. Just Google it, you'll find it, and you order one of these paper hard copies of these things for free and have it. Just so you can refer back to it, and just so you can have it. And so that office knows there's people that are still interested in that. Okay? I don't know. I'm sorry. but you'll find it, okay? It's the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. That's, that document is more than just a document. That's the reason you're able to be here, right? It's the reason I'm able to do what I do. And you should all cherish that, okay? It's not perfect, okay? I mean, even the American Constitution is not perfect. But it's what we have. It's what we have to work with, and we need to cherish it. As my esteemed boss always says, rights are like muscles. You use them or you lose them. If you don't exercise them, you don't keep them, right? So what rights we have, we need to keep exercising. I mean, you're doing that. Obviously, you're here. You're exercising the freedom of assembly. That's great. Keep doing it. Now look, democracy is not a great system, but it's the best system we have. It's the least of the worst systems of government. Government is not inherently a good thing, but we have to have something of a government. And we've chosen to do it through democracy in Canada. And there are legitimate, good ways to use democracy to keep it the best it can possibly be. Okay? And I want to encourage all of you to do that. If you're not, this is the most important thing in my opinion, if you're not the member of a political party, go home and become one. Okay? I mean that. Go home today, spend the $10 and become a member of a political party. Now, I'm not going to advocate for which one. Maybe for some of you it's the Green Party. Okay? Maybe for some of you it's one of the independent parties. Maybe it's even the Conservative Party. I don't know. Okay? But that's one of the most powerful ways you can legitimately influence democracy. Okay? There's millions of people in this country. Okay? In the last federal conservative leadership election, there was only about...
Tell us about the court challenges.
No.
Tell us about what cases
Okay.
are happening.
I will. But listen, this is important. This is overlooked. I do a lot of these talks, and I get a lot of questions. What can we do? What can we do? And I'm telling you, this is important. Okay? Now, look, if you've already said to hell with the system, then you're not going to like what I say. But if you haven't, this is how you do it, right? As I was going to say, there's 200,000 people that voted in that leadership election that potentially chose the next prime minister of the country. 200,000 out of a country of 38 million, right? Don't you think those 200,000 are wielding way more influence than the people in a general election, right? I mean, political parties are like organizations. They have boards. You can get elected to be on the board, right? You don't like Jason Kenney's party? You actually have the freedom to join the party and put your name in the hat to become a board of his party, okay? That's a legitimate way to get involved and exercise some influence. Go do it. If you're going to put in the effort and the time and the energy to come here, go do some of the other things that are going to have potentially even more influence, okay? Legitimate influence, all right? Obviously, put your money where your mouth is. Some of us have more than others. I get it. But support the organizations that advocate for the things that you care about, right? And I don't just mean the Justice Center, right? We're pretty unique because we have a team of lawyers, and we don't just advocate like this. We do so in court. But there's other advocacy organizations that are advocating for issues. And if you see that there's a gap, right, look, if there's not an organization that's advocating against lockdowns, form one. Not just a Facebook group, but an actual organization with a board, with staff, with funding. That's a lot of work. I know it's a lot of work, right? But it was a lot of work to set up the Justice Center, and it was worth it, right? Okay? Do that sort of stuff. These guys pay attention to other political parties that are gaining traction. They pay attention to advocacy organizations that have a lot of following, right? The Justice Center says something, people listen, right? That's a good thing. That's how the voice gets out there from people, all right? So those are some practical things you can go and actually do if you want to try to improve our system. Now, your question. I won't be much longer because I know other people want to speak, but the Justice Center is doing all it can, which I know sometimes probably seems like it's not enough. I understand that, but we're doing all we can to defend your rights. We appreciate it. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I would ask you to have patience with us. stick with us. Maybe some of you are impatient. We've been in this situation for months, and it's ongoing. And why isn't there more court challenges? Well, I don't have all the time to explain why. I mean, obviously the courts were closed, and as you may know, it does take quite a while to sit down and write a court application. That's what I do for a living, and it takes hundreds of hours sometimes. And I love my work, but it's hard because you can't do it overnight. So I would ask you to please continue to support us, whether it's financially or just in the sense of being a supporter. But we do what we do, like I said, in the system, and so we want to assert rights, in a way that's competent, right? Unfortunately, there's just some rights we don't have, and maybe and that's maybe a fault with our system, right? But we have to work with the rights that we do have. And so we have to assert the right to liberty, the right to security of the person when it comes to masks, the right to assemble when it comes to church and being able to meet in larger numbers. And we have to assert all these rights. Well, we can't do it like a wingnut. We have to do it in a way that is actually going to be respected in the courts and is actually going to get people's attention and make them think, right? We need to persuade people. And this is my next point about what you can do, not as part of the system, but just what you can do as people, is one-on-one, face-to-face, trying to persuade people. That's hard work, right?
Friends and neighbors.
That's hard work, I know, but people, people respond to other real people saying, now wait a minute, do you really think you have the truth on that? Look, if you guys are convinced that you have the truth on whether it's COVID or what's good for public health or whether lockdowns work, any of that stuff, you got to try and persuade people one-on-one. That's hard, dirty work, but that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do more of in Edmonton and Alberta and in Canada generally. My wife is American, and I'll tell you, when I go down there, her brothers, nothing is off the table for what they want to talk about, right? And as Canadians, we self-censor a little bit, we think, it's taboo, I don't want to talk about it, but that's how things change. That's how the truth gets out there. That's how people are able to argue and reason in a civil way and not just scream at each other on social media. That's how hearts and minds have changed. One-on-one conversation saying, look, do you really think you know what's going on here? I have something to share with you. Actually, did you know about this, right? If we're gonna change this situation and get to a point where we're having more talks about facts, real facts, and reason, and not just fear, then you guys got to do that, right? You got to try and reach these people. And look, I practice what I preach. I engage with people, right? It's hard work, but that's how we're going to change things, right? That's how we're going to get what we think the truth is out there, right? That's exercising your free speech right? Don't self-censor. I'm probably preaching to the choir about not self-censoring, but I encourage you. You have no idea how important it is. I'm telling you from my perspective as a free speech lawyer, just how important it is that you constantly exercise that right.
100%. Woo! Yeah!
So, again, thanks for being here and exercising your rights. I only stay a free person because of what you guys do, right? I can't defend anything that anybody hasn't already asserted. So I only have rights to defend if I have people exercising those rights. So I want you to know how much I'm thankful that you're doing this, and that other people you probably know are exercising their rights. If people don't get tickets, then I don't get in the court to defend them. So I'm not encouraging you to get a ticket. I'm just saying that if you assert your rights, then that's what affords me the opportunity to defend them, which I take as a sacred duty and as a wonderful opportunity, and one of the most amazing things anybody can do with their life, I think, is to do what I do. So thank you to you for giving me that opportunity and for taking the risk of asserting and exercising your rights. Good on you for doing that. Keep doing it, and never forget that as bad as things are, you're still able to do that to some degree, and that's good. And those that come behind you are going to thank you that you did that, and you didn't just capitulate, because our rights are not something that can't be taken away from us. They can. And they will be if we let them, right? Democracy and freedom takes constant vigilance, which is hard, but it's worth it, right? Freedom is worth it. It's worth the effort, right?
Yes. Yeah, we agree completely with you so far.
Maybe I gotta come up with something that's gonna agitate people a little bit. I'll leave it at that. It was great to see all of your beautiful faces. I'm sure this is the last thing I'll say. I'm sure we all have a new appreciation for the beauty of the human face.
Can you explain one more thing before you go?
Yes, go ahead.
Section 32 of the Charter. The application section.
All right. Well, now hold with me. If you want an answer on it, it's going to get a little technical, but I'll give it to you.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Now look. Here's how it works. The Charter was designed, I'm going to use a visual here that you might understand quite well. The Charter was designed to be wielded as a shield by the people as against the sword of the state. Okay? So the Charter applies to the state to bind them and how they deal with you as the people. Okay? That's Section 32 of the Charter. It applies to government. So, to give you the opposite of this, it does not apply in interactions I might have with Josh, okay? If he tries to shut me up, that might be unpleasant, but he's not actually violating my right when he does that. Now, I mean that in a legal sense. Is he violating my right as a human? Yeah, sure, but in a legal sense, he's not violating my right, okay? Because he's not government, okay? So the Constitution, the Charter, is designed to protect the people as against the government, not the people as against each other. This is important. I realize a lot of people don't necessarily know this. That's what Section 32 of the Charter is. It applies. You see now, and you get some authoritarian people in government, like Trudeau, for example, who kind of forgets that and thinks that the Charter is actually. The Charter is never a weapon to be used by the state against the people to make them do something, right? The people don't have to comply with the Charter. I don't know if you know this, but he's actually passed. I shouldn't say passed. He's instituted policies that compel people to comply with the Charter. You don't comply with the Charter; they do, right? You're protected by it, right? So that's. This is not just technical, because our whole system is based on this. Now, that's the end of the Charter. At the other end of the Charter is our most critical problem. That's Section 1. Okay, and this is one reason why I encourage you to go get this document, have it in front of you. You can refer back to this. This is not just technical stuff. Okay? In our country, our Constitution is designed such that the government can get away with violating your constitutionally protected rights. And we need to ask ourselves whether or not that's actually a good idea. We thought it was a good idea in 1982, which is why we put it in our Charter, and I'm going to make the case, and I always have made the case that's actually not a good idea, and we're seeing the result of that now.
Yeah.
If you look at Section 1 of the Charter, you might not realize this, but I gave you the colloquial meaning of it, right? And there's some fancy legal language in there about how all the rights are protected underneath unless the government can demonstrably justify violating them, right? But what that means in practice is that the government can violate your constitutional rights and get away with it, right? And that's essentially what's happening right now, right? That's how Section 1 works, and we need to, as a people in this country, be aware of that, because I've learned that most people aren't, and we should be asking ourselves whether or not we actually think that's a good system, and whether or not we like that, and whether or not that's turned out to be good for us, because we're seeing right now how maybe that's not. And if you're wondering, and I'll be done soon, because this is getting a lot of technical stuff, but how that works is I go to court. I did this yesterday. That's why I'm here. I went to court and I said, look, my client's constitutional rights have been violated. Well, then the government got up and said, well, okay, maybe, but we're able to do that because the Constitution allows us to do that. And then the judge gets to decide whether or not the government should be able to do that. Now, that can be a good or a bad thing, depending on how that judge views things. Okay, and this is where all this is connected. Okay, this whole Section 1 of the Charter thing and our justice system are connected, because at the end of the day, as bad as it is the government gets to violate our rights, it's the judges that get to decide whether or not the government gets away with it. Okay? So when I was in court yesterday, the judge heard arguments from the government that, well, look, we're able to violate this right. It was a free speech case. We're able to violate free speech because the charter gives us this ability, right? And the judge is ultimately going to decide whether or not the government is going to get away with violating free speech, right? You know, we need to be aware of who our judges are and how they're getting appointed and what the process is and who appoints them, because they're going to have, look, I'll tell you right now, you think it's bad how much control Dr. Hinshaw has and Kenny has over your daily lives, and they have a lot, and that maybe isn't good, but those 9 people in Ottawa who are Supreme Court of Canada, I would argue they probably have even more say over your daily lives in the long run for the decisions that they make, right? Well, it's our constitutional system that gives them that much power, right? Through Section 1 is the biggest way that happens. Because like I said, it's judges who ultimately get to decide whether the government gets away with violating your rights. It's not actually the government. The government does it and then tries to justify it under that section, but then the judges get to decide, right? If you have judges that maybe don't think individual liberties are a great thing, well, you can imagine what the outcome might be if they're faced with, you know, government overreach or individual liberty. Which am I going to go with, right? Now, you got somebody like me there. I'm not saying you should put me there. I'm just saying, because of my worldview, I mean, obviously I'm here today because I value individual liberty. I value it a lot, okay? You know, I'm probably going to err on the side of individual liberty as opposed to government overreach 9 times out of 10. Maybe probably 10 times out of 10, right? So, we should be aware of this. This is part of how our system works. And if we're actually going to engage it and learn about it and try to make it better, we need to know about this, right? You know, the judge I saw yesterday is part of the Queen's Bench. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's one of the levels of court in Alberta. There's 3, okay? Well, at that level of court, it's not your government here in Alberta who appoints that judge. It's Trudeau. It's the federal government in Ottawa that appoints the judges on the Queen's Bench in Alberta. Maybe that's bad, maybe that's good, but you should know about it. And if you don't like it, you should be getting engaged on it and saying, I don't like this. Our system needs to change. I want a judge appointed by the government that I elect here in Alberta.
Amen.
You know, not the federal.
Amen.
Not the federal government that, you know, a bunch of socialists over in Ontario elected, right? You know, you need to be aware of that and then speak your mind about it if you don't like it. You know, while we still have that right to challenge and criticize that, you need to speak your mind about it and learn about it, right? And learn more about your rights than what I can tell you here today, you know. Go on the Justice Center's website, read about it. That's not the only place. There's all kinds of other places that are giving this information out. Go learn about it, right? I'm not saying go read case law. I understand that's boring and difficult. But you can read from places like the Justice Center about how our rights actually work. And you can learn about it. And informed people is a people that's difficult to control, right? If you know your rights, then you can exert them and exert them in a reasonable, intelligent way. Right? I mean, good facts make good law. If I got people that are exercising their rights in a really good way, then it's going to make for a better case for me that I can potentially win on to defend those rights. Right? So go and learn about how that works, right? You know, go and learn. Well, what does freedom of association mean? Well, most people don't know. That means that you have the ability to form an organization, right? That protects that. That's how labor unions are able to do what they do, right? Well, that means people like you can go and you can form an association. The government can't break it up because you have a constitutional right to do so. Learn about that. Know about that, right? Look, as far as court cases, you know we have a court case on Bill 10 that is moving. We're all frustrated with how slow that's moving. That's partly because the justice system is slow. It's partly because the government is trying to make it slow, but it's moving, right? We have other cases that we're looking at going after, like the isolations and the quarantines and the size restrictions of gatherings. That's all stuff that we are very interested in, very concerned about, that we do want to take to court. It's coming. It's just it takes a lot of work, and we only have a small team. So please bear with us, continue to support us, and look for that. And as much as we love Alberta, we do a lot of stuff here. We also do stuff across the country. I don't know if you know that, but we do stuff all across the country. And you know, we don't want to completely abandon the rest of the country either. So we are doing all that we can. And you know, look, I'll say this: if donations go up for somewhere like the Justice Center, we hire more lawyers, we do more work. And I'm sure a lot of you already, you know, donate lots. I'm not necessarily telling you to do that, but maybe spread the word. Like, look, there's this organization that has lawyers, that goes to court, that fights for our rights, and they, you know, if they have more donations, they hire more lawyers, right? I mean, the Americans, I don't know if you know, the Americans get this really, they have an army of civil liberty lawyers down there, right? Millions of dollars pour into these organizations. Because, well, it's the Americans, right? I mean, you know, they're all about their rights. We need to do a little more of that up here. And then you know, there's a lot more constitutional cases down there, right? I mean, you can only run so many cases as you have lawyers up here, and there's a lot of cases that we're not even able to run, and that saddens us, to be honest. So, anyways, look, I've gone on a long time. Thanks for your question. I encourage you to keep doing this. Keep pursuing truth. That's actually one of the values that underlies the Charter, is the pursuit of truth. If you were to read case law, if you were that nerdy, you would see that, right? And this is going back a few years, back when this stuff was a little more popular. But pursuing truth is actually a fundamental underlying value of our constitutional system. It's in there. Judges have talked about it, and I keep forcing judges to look at it now in the cases that I run. So keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, James, again. We need to trip up from Calgary, so one more big round of applause for James and the Justice Center. Please, people, I urge you, please, if you can, support the Justice Center, please do. They've been fighting hard all year for us. Exposing Bill 10, Bill 24. We appreciate you guys so much. So any support you guys can give them, please do. Even just sharing the Justice Center to people that you know. It really helps explain what they do for us, and that goes a long way. And also, I urge anybody who's watching this stream right now, please share this with everybody you know. This stream gets seen thousands and thousands of times, so we need to spread that. Everybody here today, if you get home and you can share this stream, please do. Once again, though, I just thank you guys for coming out and continually coming out. You guys are amazing, so a round of applause again for you guys. Amazing. And like James says, we have to remain vigilant, even beyond the COVID thing. Once we fix this, and we will, we have to continue to defend our rights. We have to continue to defend our freedoms and stay vigilant. Do you love your rights? Yes! Do you love your freedom? Yes! Will you stand up for this country? Yes! Will you stand up for your rights and freedoms? Yes! Just let them know loud and clear that all rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. All rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. All rights are not up for grabs. There is no debate. Period. There is no debate. You were born with these rights, and they are yours. That's an innate thing for you. So thank you guys again. I'd like to invite Aliyah up. She has some beautiful words for you guys. So welcome, Aliyah.
And then when he was talking about the government out in the federal government, they're forcing us to do something on an act.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Thank you, Kyle. And once again, let's give a big round of applause to James and the Justice Center for everything they do for us. Make sure to visit and like their Facebook page, where they post all of the updates for every court battle across Canada that they are fighting to defend for all of our rights and freedoms. You will also find information on their Facebook page where you can donate and help the cause and get educated about everything James spoke about. Thank you again to the Justice Center and to James for speaking today. So my name is Ilea O'Clair. Some of you may know who I am. You may have even heard me speak here before, but I may be a new face to many of you. I am here today as a parent who, like you, is concerned about the children of Alberta and the threats that these policies and measures are taking by the province, the schools, and even our teachers towards our children. Threats that take my breath away. Threats that are taking our children's breath away and taking their voice away. Threats that can no longer be ignored.
Yes.
I represent a large group of Alberta parents and we have been advocating to protect the rights and freedoms of Alberta students. As I sat down to write this speech today, I was planning on highlighting some of the atrocities happening within the Alberta schools. Stories that have been shared with me, stories that have shook me and made me angry, but has also strengthened my resolve in this fight. Stories that may never have been shared this widely if we hadn't chosen to act. Stories, for example, like the student who suffered a bloody nose during class and was told to put his soiled mask back on for the rest of the day. So he did. Stories like the group of online learning elementary students who were watching a Remembrance Day ceremony online only to have the feed hacked for 3 full minutes while horrific, hardcore pornography was displayed in front of all of these students and parents. Or the Airdrie students who risked suspension from school if they dare break social distancing for even a moment to simply embrace and hug a friend or clap their colleague on the back. This is what's happening to our students. These are stories that are being shared with me. From the extreme masking rules that in many cases extend through all grades, including outdoor recess time and physical exercise, to the over-sanitation and social distancing rules that make any semblance of a normal childhood impossible. The lack of mask breaks and children having to earn the right to take their mask off is causing an atmosphere not of learning and fun, but of fear and confusion. The resounding question every parent has contacted me with is, how do we fight this? What can we do? So today, I am here to speak to all of you, all of the parents that are concerned about your children, the parents that are tossing and turning all night long instead of sleeping, the parents who feel they are carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders, over how all of this is going to affect your child long-term mentally and physically, the parents that feel powerless in this fight. To every parent listening right now, the power to make this change starts with you. Make no mistake, what is happening to our children right now in Alberta schools is a cycle of abuse and bullying.
Yeah, we have to stop this.
The abuse is stemming from a case-demic fear-mongering and gaslighting that our government is portraying every single day by placing blame on each individual citizen of Alberta rather than acknowledging the well-known facts that humans cannot control viruses. This is particularly directed at our children through indoctrination within our school systems, creating a generation of germaphobes and emotionally immature adults, despite children not being the main drivers of this disease.
Yes.
Bullying is defined as an ongoing and deliberate misuse of power through repeated verbal, physical, and/or social behavior that intends to cause physical, social, or sociological harm. It can involve an individual or a group misusing their power over a person who may feel unable to stop it from happening. Typically, we see bullying happening amongst students. For many years, bully awareness has been exposed. Bullies have been properly reprimanded, and education with the aim to prevent bullying carefully exemplified. We are now seeing a shift, however. In many circumstances across Alberta, bullying is occurring between teachers and students, and even principals and students. The very people that we have trusted to educate and advocate for our children are now trying to bully our children into submission through a gross misuse of power.
Charge you with child abuse!
Not acceptable.
Our children are having a naturally hard time defending themselves against this form of bullying because teachers are meant to be someone that they can trust. And under normal circumstances, they would be. However, many teachers are being misled by the intense fear-mongering and are now literally afraid of their students as potential pathogen carriers. We need to stop being the bystanders to this bullying. We have to remember that we have the power to stop this. We need to raise our collective voice, we need to use our collective voice, and we need to say stop to all teachers that are bullying our children by using fear and manipulation.
Put cameras in there!
I know many of you are scared to stand up against this, to stand up against the school superintendents and the principals, because they are using the same bullying tactics on you. They are threatening to place your child in isolation rooms or expulsion from the school system if you stand up. But what they are forgetting in all of this is that you, as the parent, you hold all the power here. You have a right to defend your child against this treatment. You have the power to end this cycle of abuse. And most important of all, you are not alone in this fight.
Are we allowed to go in the classrooms and sit with our kids?
The way that we win this war is with a united front. There is power in numbers. We need to start connecting with other parents in our community and taking a stand against all of this together. I encourage everyone listening here and everyone listening online, start reaching out and talking with the parents of your children's friends. Start talking to your neighbors who have school-aged children. Start talking to other parents in your school districts. Ask your children if there are others in their class that are struggling and reach out to those parents. Making connections and helping to empower others will make our collective voice more powerful. We will not see this change overnight. This is going to take time. But together, we can make the difference for our children. Our children have rights, and these rights need to be defended. We know that individual schools, principals, and superintendents are taking it upon themselves to go above and beyond what has been written by Dr. Hinshaw's ministerial order and told to use their own discretion with regards to creating new rules simply to their liking. And this is completely unacceptable.
Yes.
This is why we need to fight. There are absolutely no mandates in place for children in kindergarten to grade 3. So we must fight for every single one of those children. We must fight for the children in grades 4 through 12 that are unable to wear a non-medical mask due to any mental or physical concern or limitation as written by Dr. Hinshaw herself as far as exemptions are concerned. As parents, we must break the cycle that we are allowing to happen to our children.
Yeah.
We can end this if we unite together. In light of this, we have created a safe online group where all concerned parents can join together and be the change that we need to be. Join us at the Facebook group Protecting the Freedom of Alberta Children and connect with all concerned parents while we continue to work towards resolving this and ending this tyranny against our children.
And grandparents.
Most importantly, never forget that you are not standing alone in this fight. We are here for all of you. Find your tribe. We are your tribe. Thank you for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaliyah. One more round of applause for Aaliyah. Very awesome. And like Aaliyah said, that she's right. The only power the government has is the power that we give them. So we need to exert our rights every single day, every moment of the day. We need to exert our rights and show the government that we are the people, we are the boss, they are our employees. And that's the way it is. So I implore all of you watching right now, you have to share this stream to everyone you know. That's the part you can play. Just like these beautiful people show up every single weekend, and many of you have too. Now's your time. Share this with everyone you know. And I'd like to ask you again, do you accept the new normal? No! Louder, do you accept the new normal? No! Will you ever accept the new normal? No! Let's let them know loud and clear. No new normal! No new normal! No new normal! No new normal! I'd like to welcome Karen up. Karen has some beautiful words for us today, so welcome Karen.
Hi everybody, this is incredible to see so many people here today. I am absolutely just thrilled. It's wonderful to see so many faces. Thank you for coming. First of all, I'd just like to thank Edmonton City Council, because thanks to them, they taught me how to write a 5-minute speech.
That is something.
Yeah, it's awesome. This week was the saddest though of 2020. Wednesday was Remembrance Day, a day set aside to recognize those who died for our freedom. This year will go down in history as the year we lost our freedom. And not that it was taken from us. We have given it away freely. We have surrendered it by consent. Remember, freedom, like health, is a fragile thing. David and I went with our friend Brent, who is here today, to our local town of Devon for the Remembrance Day ceremony. We weren't invited. In fact, like everywhere across the world, we were actively discouraged from attending, told instead that we could participate online. We chose to be there in person. There were around 50 invited guests in an area around the memorial, which had been taped off from the general public. There was seating for around 100 people, but only about half showed up. Outside the taped area, a group of us had gathered to pay our respects. At the last minute, one person inside the taped area handed us a sheet of paper for the ceremony. No one else acknowledged our presence or even looked at us. No one offered the empty seats to military personnel or clearly disabled attendees standing outside the tape. A handful seemed to understand the contradiction of a ceremony to honor the greatest ultimate sacrifice for our freedom, which in 2020 has been ripped away from us all. At the end of the ceremony, we had a chance to talk to one of the veterans. He was so apologetic for our exclusion. He understood the tragic irony of what had just taken place. He was deeply disturbed by how events leading up to Remembrance Day have unfolded. Military personnel being told they could not attend a Remembrance Day ceremony in uniform. Whole Foods banning their employees from wearing poppies in work. I hasten to add that Whole Foods did have to retract that particular mandate fairly quickly after there was outrage from the public. But the fabric of freedom as we know it, guys, is coming apart at the seams. On the government page, Veterans Affairs Canada, I found the following statement. We often take for granted our Canadian values and institutions, our freedom to participate in cultural and political events, and our right to live under a government of our choice. The Canadians who went off to war in distant lands went in the belief that the values and beliefs enjoyed by Canadians were being threatened. They truly believed that without freedom there can be no ensuring peace, and without peace, no enduring freedom. The pursuit and protection of that freedom that we used to enjoy relies upon two things: courage and sacrifice. It meant facing fear and knowing that dying for what you believe in is a reality. Those who have given their lives for us are truly the heroic ones. And now, in 2020, there is no dying for our freedom. Instead, the orchestrators of this insanity that we're living in are lying about our freedom. Now we hide away. We're fearful. We don't connect with other human beings. We no longer seek out happiness, hope and support. We have lost the essence of what it means to be human, masters of our own destiny. We are part of the greatest social experiment based on the poorest scientific evidence the world has ever seen. But know one thing. We are victims, in many cases, by consent. We now do not consent. Everybody here today is fighting for the truth, rights and freedoms for us all in this crisis. We are in the minority. Before the Battle of Britain, Winston Churchill, after a few minutes' silence, said, "Never in the history of mankind has so much been owed by so many to so few." I am proud and humbled to stand with all of you here today and across the world. We are the few. On the subject of those who are truly good, many of you by now will have heard of our dear friend in Ireland, Dolores Cale. She has just united with a team of top experts from across the world in health, law and education. Under the banner of the World Freedom Alliance, their group aims to empower us all to win this global fight. Like minds are uniting with her in this battle for the freedom of our humanity. Truth will out and good will overcome, lest we forget.
Awesome, thank you, Karen. Yeah, that was an awesome speech. Thank you so much again to Karen. That was wonderful. Thank you, guys. I'd just like to remind you guys, it's a beautiful day today, so if anyone would like to stick around for after the speeches, we are going to go on a march today. So we're going to march down through downtown and let Edmonton know that there's some people who are awake and standing up for the rights and freedoms of all Canadians. So we will do a march at the end. I'd like to invite up Lorna now. She'd like to have a speech for you guys. Lorna? Welcome, Lorna. Big round of applause for Lorna.
Just give me a moment. I stand in absolute awestruck wonder of what I see out there. You guys are so beautiful. You are a sight for my sore eyes. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, on May 25th of this year, the world watched in horror as one man, a precious human being, was killed by power gone wrong. The words, "I can't breathe," were heard by everyone, but they were ignored by the man with the power. 8 minutes, 46 seconds was all that it took. The abuse of power took a terrible toll. The abuser of power is facing justice. That is good. So are those who looked on and did nothing. That too is good. Today, this is what I see. Children forced to mask are saying, "I can't breathe." Parents force them to comply. Teachers shame them, stand over them with authority, and command them, "Put your mask on." Other students ridicule, make fun of, and bully the maskless child. And those of you in power watch it, tolerate it, and even encourage it. You use shame and your position of power to harm a child. That is abhorrent and criminal. For how many years have we taught our children, listen to your body, trust your intuition, be aware of stranger danger? And today your child says, "I can't breathe," and you say, "Wear it." That is criminal. The employee that looks at the employer and says, "I can't breathe," what does the employer say? "Wear it or lose your job." To that employer, you are no better than the man holding his knee to the neck of his victim. It will take longer than 8 minutes and 46 seconds, but you too are forcing a body and a brain into a compromised setting where optimum function is not possible. What about that uniformed individual, that airplane pilot, the policeman, the peace officer, the security guard? When you hear the words, "I can't breathe," from a passenger, or a shopper who just wants to buy necessities, or a mother with 2 young children standing in line to get into Sunshine Valley Ski Resort, and you draw yourself up into your full position of power, uniform power, you look down on that passenger or that shopper or that mother and her children, and you inform them with complete authority, "I don't care, wear it or get out." You are at the same level of the now accused. How dare you use your position of power to shame, humiliate, and again put a human life in great risk of harm because they can't breathe. Once again, I address those of you who have taken the Hippocratic oath. You have the power to alleviate the pain and relieve your patient. Why are you not writing those letters, clearly stating that this person is exempt? If you are told by your patient, "When I wear a mask, I can't breathe," why are you not honoring them? When you refuse to write that letter, are you any different than the man with power who refused to listen to his victim? For those of you who work with our precious senior citizens, how often have you heard one of them say, "I can't breathe"? Did you honor them by taking off that awful mask and letting them breathe? If you didn't, if you insisted that they keep it on, you are just as abhorrent as the man who is now facing justice. And to the most highly honored politicians who love to read us the riot act each and every day, based, of course, on the most accurate numbers you can come up with, please put on those 3-layered masks that you wish to impose on all of us. Wear that mask all day long, all the time. That is what you expect from us. Please keep it on when you eat and lift it up only long enough to sip a mouthful of food in, then lower it quickly so no virus can get in. Please keep that 3-layered mask on at night, especially when you wish to be intimate. And when you are in front of the camera, there, it is an absolute must. Keep that mask on. You expect everyone else to communicate in public through a mask. Set the example with your 3-layered mask. If you practice what you preach, we will hear the words, I can't breathe. I am an honor student. I learn well. I will follow your example. I will treat you like you treat all of us, with the same utter disregard and disdain, and I will say, wear it or lose your job. Or, we must all do our part to flatten the curve. I too have become heartless. No, 35 years ago I stood and took the Hippocratic Oath. Even though I am retired, I still walk with that primary principle. First, do no harm. If I heard even you say, I can't breathe, I would suggest, take off your mask. Your brain needs all the oxygen it can get. And when I make a promise, I keep it. It takes 3 minutes of oxygen depletion to start the killing of brain cells. Once a brain cell is dead, it is not replaced. The first part of the brain to be affected is the hippocampus. That is the part of the brain that stores much of our memory. That is the part of the brain most often affected by Alzheimer's and dementia. So how are these masks affecting our children? The effects will be many for years to come, for generations to come. How are they affecting your adult brain? Will you be experiencing earlier onset of Alzheimer's or earlier onset of dementia? As an adult, you have choices to make. You have a choice. Choose wisely. For everyone who is in a position of power, as a parent, a teacher, a uniformed personnel, anyone practicing in the medical field, or a politician, when you hear the words, I can't breathe, use your position of power. Let them take off that ugly mask and let them breathe.
Awesome, thank you very much, Lorna. Yeah, I got a question for all of you. Do you want the right to choose what goes in or on your body? Yes! Do you accept forced mask mandates? No! Do you accept the idea of forced vaccinations? No! Do you accept their new normal? No! Do you accept the new normal? No! Neither do I. No new normal! No new normal! No new normal! No new normal! No government will tell me or my family what to put in or on our body. Period. Yeah. That will never change. I'd like to invite Dave on. Welcome, Dave Dickson. Dave Dickson. I'm sorry.
Hello everyone. I never prepare a speech for standing here, never have. I listen to what everybody says and then usually attack all my ex-colleagues for not doing their job. I won't fit. Hello, testing.
Good.
COVID-19. So, I don't give a speech, but last week I gave a speech about Remembrance Day, or as we say in Europe, Armistice Day, not being cancelled. I sent that speech to my good friend, Professor Dolores Cahill. This morning, before I left, she sent this back to me. Now bear in mind, I'm not religious, but this touched me, and I hope it touches you. She says, for all people of all faiths, at 11:11 every day, perhaps light a candle, or just take a moment to pray, to reflect, to remember, to love, to be kind, and to forgive, and to bring in light and strength to all of us. We are one together we will build a wonderful world with love, joy, happiness, inner peace. And to sing, be not afraid, pray. She asks, please share far and wide. We are holding each other in our prayers. Dolores. That's a person who everybody should be listening to. That is one of the world's top experts that I am proud and still very confused to be connected to. I'm some just dumb ex-cop from Liverpool. I'm retired from the police from the UK because I was injured on duty. However, while I was working as a police officer, and every day since, I take my oath very seriously. Every police officer, every person who wears a uniform, whether that be a teacher with their rule, not a ruler, it is a rule, a nurse, a doctor, a police officer, a peace officer, anyone right now who's a professional and should be doing their jobs. They know what's going on, in part. Just like in the general public, there's an awful lot of people that seem to be confused by the propaganda. Stanley Milgram has an explanation for all of that. But just like that, these people in these professions are also people. I speak to doctors and nurses, scientists, experts, police officers, people from the armed forces every day. And right now, just like in the general population, and just like here, there are people that believe what's going on, and there are people that understand what's going on. You all understand what's going on. And the problem is that they are the few that will make a difference. They need to take their oath of office seriously, and they do. The problem is they need support. So I'm sorry to tell you, but there's no point in wasting your time with the general public. They are gone, they are lost, and they will not help. Right now, you need to focus not on politicians, not on trying to speak out and persuade that person on CTV News who's making the nasty comments towards you. It's time to give up on them. It's time to speak to your doctor. It's time to speak to your pharmacist. It's time to speak to the nurses you know. It's time to speak to the police officer that passes you in the street, the peace officer at the local university, the nurses, every single professional you see every single day. You need to speak to them, and you need to ask them to explain to you why things changed this year, why they are not standing up. They can stand up, they will stand up, but at the moment they're being silenced by our government. I speak to a number of them every day who ask for help because they've been furloughed, or more importantly, put on administrative leave if they dare say anything other than the government propaganda and their supervisors have been telling them to say. And they put them on administrative paid leave for a reason, because they are still under contract, so can't speak out. And they stay at home, so they can't talk to their colleagues. Well, every single one of you professionals, police officers, my colleagues, prosecutors, judges, every one of you, you need to start talking to each other. You need to start remembering your oath, from the Hippocratic Oath to the oath of office that you swore to defend the people, to the oath of office that Chief Justice Catherine Fraser, you swore to be brave and to be the last offender against these governments, to be the last offender against tyranny. Get off your arse and do your job!
Do
could make me popular next time I'm in court. So again, one last time, I've said this so many times before, I'm speaking to my ex-Chief Constable Andy Cook. I'm speaking to Chief Justice Fraser. I'm speaking to every single police officer out there. I'm speaking to the retired police officers. Glenn Motts, the MP for Medicine Hat, out in Ottawa right now, who's trying to get some information. Every single one of you, start talking to each other. Start thinking for yourself. Start looking at the evidence. There was a life before COVID. There were facts before COVID. There were no cases before COVID. There were only infections and deaths. We need to stop looking at the numbers. I said a few months ago that winter is coming and that people are going to start getting afraid. Well, it started these last couple of weeks when Dina Hinshaw says we had 800 cases yesterday. Well, guess what? In a few weeks, that's going to be thousands of cases. And they're going to be people with sniffly noses, or close contacts, or people who had a PCR test, or people who have influenza that isn't being treated. COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, and every other coronavirus could disappear from the planet tomorrow, and we'll still have cases by the way they're planning and discussing things. If you still keep focusing on cases, all you professionals, then we are going to devolve into destruction. There is no way other than down if all you think about is cases. We are going to have a day when somebody announces in Alberta, based on the current protocols, that 400 people died yesterday. And it's going to be normal. It's going to be something that happens every year. But it won't be just from COVID. But that's the way it will be reported. Every single one of you professionals out there, and Glenn Motts I spoke to a couple of weeks ago about this, and said, where did flu go? 1 billion cases of flu every single year. Not my stats, not Alberta Health stats, on the World Health Organization's webpage. 1 billion cases of flu, and this year it disappeared. We were luckily enough, we got one case in Alberta, the rarest flu ever on the planet, H1N2. Aren't we lucky? Does that get us a page in the Guinness Book of Records? Oh, well, actually, I'm starting to get a runny nose here. I think I'm getting COVID. So start asking those doctors, those pharmacists, those nurses, those police officers, can you please explain to me, where did flu go? Precisely. Why get a flu shot if flu disappeared? Your tax dollars being spent well. Speaking of tax dollars, Jason Kenny, who's paying for all the Alberta bonds right now? I'll give you a clue. You are. Used to be foreign governments, and it used to be foreign investors, and it used to be pension funds. Right now, the federal government is buying all the Alberta tax bonds, and that's how come we haven't gone bankrupt. Do you know where that money comes from? From you. Because one thing everybody seems to forget, the government doesn't have any money. Whether it be communism or capitalism, the government only has other people's money. And eventually, they run out. So right now, I'm going to finish back with my old profession. In fact, all my connections in all the professions out there. We will not survive this if the professionals don't stand up. If the courts keep pushing old masks made out of old judges' robes as a way to go, how are we ever going to get? How's the JCCF ever going to turn up to court and argue masks are a bad thing and against their constitutional rights while sitting watching a judge wearing a mask made out of an old judge's robe? That's not exactly going to be a fair hearing. So the judges, you need to start looking at the facts. You don't have to look very far. They're on the Alberta government's and the Canadian government's own servers. You don't have to ask very hard. They have to produce them for you, and the facts are there. What the cases are, what they're actually made out of, what the deaths are, what they're really related to. None of this information is being hidden. I've actually fought many cases in my life. I've arrested many people for many things. I've never seen a case of criminal behaviour that would be so easy to prosecute than what these governments are doing right now. And yet the police are doing nothing. They sit by and they actually perform for their masters. Well, this is not your master's voice, because your masters are the people, not the government. You work for them. I work for them. That is your oath. And one last thing on, just to finish as Josh started, on the city's website yesterday, and the conversation. Apparently I came up in conversation because I am disabled. I do have, unlike many people, a doctor's note that says I can't wear a mask. And I went to Indigo in West Edmonton Mall and was refused access, even after, despite not needing to, presenting my medical exemption. Not a little card that the city produced, but an actual doctor's note. During that call, I listened to everybody push back against it. And I watched as councillors were bored. They didn't care. The city's already made up its mind. However, out of over 100 people who signed up and 50 people who got to speak, one person actually spoke up for masks. Didn't bother declaring before she spoke that she's running for council right now, which might have been useful for everybody to hear. She brought her prop, her little daughter, to rock on her knee. I said to my wife, you should have brought a prop, I could have sat on your knee. The one thing that she did say, though, was something that in another time, while I was still serving, I would have took that speech, walked round to her house and arrested her. She made two comments. One, she thought all stores that don't allow people with disabilities, such as myself, to come in, that they are the only ones that should be supported. And anybody that actually would support disabled people should be shut down. She also said, this is somebody running for council. These are your politicians. She also stated that anybody not wearing a mask does not deserve any rights. Now they are disturbing for somebody running for council. I suggest you all go watch the speeches. They started just over 4 hours in, and skip through. You'll find it in there. She's easy to find.
Good. Every one of those speeches.
Every one of the speeches was absolutely superb. But just go find out this councillor, just so you don't vote for her. But the last thing on that made my blood boil as a retired police officer was she boasted about how she put a mask on a 2.5-year-old child. I have kicked doors down and arrested people for less abusive behaviour to children. If I was still serving today, I would do that now. Edmonton Police, where are you? That is abusive behaviour. Under no circumstances can anybody under the age of 18 consent to wearing a medical device. So, as was said yesterday to council, I'm going to repeat something, not just for the council, but for Dina Hinshaw, for Jason Kenny, for Trudeau, for every single one of you. And hopefully the Justice Centre are listening to this. This is more than just a constitutional issue. The government has decided that these face coverings that you're wearing and they're forcing people to wear are for medical purposes. They are there to prevent the spread of a virus by their own definition. Therefore, they are forcing people to wear medical devices. Now, they've also stated they're not sure whether they do work or don't work 100%. They're just helping because there have been no studies. So they're asking the people of this world to participate in a study, or what we would more clearly describe as a medical experiment. Well, back after the war, there were some trials that were held. And there were some rules in international law that were formed. No government can force by coercion or without full informed consent for any member of the population to participate in an experiment. So right now, every single one of you politicians, every one of you that are sitting waiting to vote the mask bylaws in Edmonton, in Calgary, in Sherwood Park, and every other part of this province, this country and the world, you are currently breaking rules that are considered a war crime. And for that, you have no protection. For that, you will be held accountable. Eventually, the armed forces will do their duty. They will stand up and come for you. You will not be protected. The police will finally stand up and do their duty, and they will come for you. You have all committed offences, and you will be held accountable.
Awesome, thank you, David. And David's right. That's right. We have one message for you, government. You better respect the people. We are here. We will never be silenced. We will never be ignored. We will never sleep again, because we understand the corruption. We understand the abuse of power. So I recommend that you guys fall in line and obey your boss, just like we do with our work. That's what we want. So I'd like to, we're going to have a couple more short speeches, and then we're going to go ahead and march. We're going to get our bodies moving, get our blood pumping. Go let Edmonton know that there's Canadians that will stand up for our rights, our freedoms. So I'd like to invite Roger up.
Brochures.
Oh, and the brochures. So Chris Schaefer, who works for OHS, he has some brilliant brochures for educating people about masks. Please come grab a brochure. Spread those brochures with everybody you know. It's very, very powerful information. If anybody works in the trades or deals with OHS, they know that we're very, very much used to wearing masks, and we understand what masks can and cannot do. So grab those brochures, spread them out with everybody you know. Thank you, guys. And once again, while people are grabbing brochures, I'd just like to remind the people on the stream, share this with absolutely everyone you know now. This is paramount. Share, share, share. Let's get tens and thousands of shares, hundreds and thousands. It's being seen around the world. We need you guys so very much right now. So please share, please share. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys that are watching right now. Thank you to everybody who's showing up. Oh, one more reminder, guys. Please grab a brochure.
If you can hand these out to people who may know info on masks. Yeah, hand them out. Make sure you do it.
Okay, am I good here?
Okay, we got one more speech from Roger. Let's see what he has to say.
Sure. Okay.
Also, everybody, there's amazing videos that get taken every time from every protest that we do every weekend. And you can check out those streams and those videos at Mobile Pixel online. So www.mobilepixel.com, I believe. So you can check that out. Oh, on the Facebook page, Mobile Pixel. So go on Facebook, search Mobile Pixel, and on YouTube, search Mobile Pixel, and you'll find all the videos from all these rallies, and they've been happening every Saturday all year long. So there's a lot of awesome stuff that can inspire people. You can also share that with your friends and family. I just, while we're waiting for pamphlets, I'd like to remind everybody out there in the web, please, every single day, tell your friends, tell your family. You have an opportunity every day when you go to work, when you're at school, spread the word. Show people what the rights and freedoms are. It's very, very, very fundamental that we stand up now and resist peacefully and respectfully. Thank you, guys. Everybody, welcome Roger. You have some beautiful and heartfelt words for you guys.
Hello everyone, my name's Roger Swan. I was an RN for over 30 years in this city, and to say I'm ashamed of my profession right now would be an understatement. Not of course for any individual nurse who are working under ridiculous conditions, not because they've been inundated with sick patients, but because on a daily basis they have to prove they're healthy, and 2 or 3 times a week they have to get tested, and they have to wear those absurd PPEs all day long. I'm talking about nursing leaders, the professors in the nursing faculties, the leaders at the colleges of nursing, and the union leaders. I've written to them all and have not received one acknowledgement, let alone any useful response. As a nurse, my mentor is Florence Nightingale, not Louis Pasteur. No, Florence Nightingale was revered by the ordinary British Tommy all her life because she improved the basic lot of the British soldier when the Army Medical Corps was doing their best to make their lives a misery. She lived through the smallpox vaccine wars of the 19th century. At the time, they applied the vaccine by scratching people's arms and smearing the filth from the different species of the cowpox pustules on that excoriated arm. Needless to say, it did not prevent one smallpox case, but certainly increased sickness exponentially. In 1885, the city of Leicester held what is called the Great Demonstration, and it was able to get the mandated vaccine law rescinded. Basic Nightingale precepts were put in place, and the number of smallpox cases plummeted. In 1860, Florence Nightingale wrote this amazing and brilliant little book called Notes on Nursing. If this book was the Bible of our public health institutions today, our healthcare system would be a different system than what it is today, and we would have a healthy population. Let me just conclude by reading a short paragraph from this beautiful little book. I do have to try and I haven't quite found the right passage. Just give me a moment if you wouldn't mind. I did find it before I came, and now I've lost it. Yes. Yes, here we are. Diseases are not individuals arranged in classes like cats and dogs, but conditions growing out of one another. Is it not living in a continual mistake to look upon diseases, as we do now, as separate entities which must exist like cats and dogs, instead of looking upon them as conditions, like a dirty and a clean condition, and just as much under our own control, or rather as the reactions of kindly nature against the conditions in which we have placed ourselves. And just to since I have seen with my eyes and smelt with my nose smallpox growing up in first specimens, either in close rooms or in overcrowded wards, where it could not by any possibility have been caught, but must have begun. I have seen, for instance, with a little overcrowding, continued fever grow up, and with a little more typhoid fever, and with a little more typhus, and all in the same ward or hut. Would it not be far better and more practical if we looked upon disease in this light? For diseases, as all experience shows, are adjectives, not noun substantives. Thank you very much for listening.
Awesome, thank you, Roger, and thank you to all the speakers that came up today. It takes a lot of guts to get up here, and it takes a lot of guts for you guys to all show up, so round of applause for everybody again. You guys are awesome. Okay, guys, we have one more about 30-second announcement from Ron. He has something very important to come talk to us about.
Hi, I just want to let everybody know, I'm letting people know, just pay attention to the truckers' strike that may happen November 29th in the U.S., and it may spread up here, and all I'm saying is maybe stock up a little bit on your food. Don't watch the mainstream media. Watch this in other outlets and pay attention to it, because it could affect the supply, and it all fits in with NWO narrative anyway, but that's another story. But just a tip. I'm telling everybody.
Awesome, thank you.
Awesome, guys. Once again, thank you guys for all coming. Thank you to every speaker that came up here today. Thank you guys for watching. Once again, please share this stream. For all you watching right now, share. Get this out as fast and as furiously as possible, because we need to do this now. Right now is our chance to stand up peacefully and respectfully to say no. To say no. To say no. The only power they have is the power that you amazing people give them, because you are the boss, not the control system. They are our employees, and they need to start acting like it. So who wants to go have a good march today? Are y'all still ready for a march?
Yep.
Do you accept the new normal? Lorna, do you accept the new normal? Will we ever accept the new normal? Let's let Edmonton, Canada, and the world know loud and clear. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal. No new normal. I'd like to say thank you guys once again to all you came out. If anyone who would like to march, we're going to get marching. So thank you guys again. Round of applause to you guys. Thank you. Okay, everybody, let's go ahead. We'll start marching now. Anyone who'd like to join us for the march, let's get rolling.
Yeah, totally.